Our next presenter is Steve Groff. Steve, I see you're in the room. Glad you're able to join us.
Yes,
We're,
sir.
yeah, where are you calling in from?
Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. That's southeastern Pennsylvania, just 65 miles west of Philly and 100 miles northeast of Washington, D.C.
Very, very good. Yeah. Yep. Well, great. Grateful that you're here with us. Your message definitely ties right in with our theme, building a legacy business, being regenerative. You have been doing this for quite some time, right? You're not a novice to this.
Well, what we call regenerative agriculture now, I could trace back 40 years. When
Yeah.
I journey, it's been called different things. I remember when the word sustainable was kind of the current buzzword, and now it's regenerative. So I've been in that track, yeah, for quite a bit of time now.
Cool. Well, we're grateful to have you here with us. Do you have a presentation you want to bring up?
I guess just push the share button and see if I can figure it out.
Yep. Yep. That's the thing to do.
I'm always not sure if this gets the right screen.
There it
Um,
is. Yeah. Yep.
Good.
You're there. We can
Can
see it. It looks good.
we just work with that?
Yep.
All right, you guys ready to go?
I think we're ready. Everybody, you ready?
All right. Well, yeah, welcome everybody in. I've followed along just a little bit, and I certainly feel really right at home here with these topics. And I'm just going to focus a little bit on my specialty right now, which is hemp. So I know that's very new for some of you, not everyone, but I am a third generation farmer from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I farm 200 acres, mainly vegetables, and now quite a bit of hemp and some small grains. So I've been no-till. Started that in 1982, full no-till since 1996, and I'm a very big user of cover crops. And I was instrumental in helping get the tillage radish cover crop up and going. And so it's been a journey. We all have our journeys, right? And my journey has kind of led from no-till. I added cover crops, then I added diversity, and to our last speaker, now human health and well-being. I always put them together. Human health and well-being is really, I think, the end goal all of us farmers and ranchers should be considering. Whether you're growing food or I'm going to focus on fiber. So I do grow both, but I'm going to focus on fiber today. And hemp fits right in the regenerative, I guess you'd say, regenerative movement in the type of plant it is. So, we all hear about the Dust Bowl in the 1930s, and it just really saddens me that today, this year, there's been a couple of high wind events on dry areas of the country. This is Kansas, April the 8th of this year, taken from an airplane. You can see it there. There's been other reports. 3 years ago, there was 8 people killed in Illinois from blowing soil. It's just not right. And I like to say, we have a soil emergency here. We have a climate emergency here. And this is where I feel that hemp can be a part of that. When we try, as us regenerative people do, we try to mimic nature. When non-farmers ask me, so Steve, I saw you're tied in with this regenerative agriculture. What is regenerative? And my first comment is usually we try to mimic nature as much as possible. And I know that this is a regenerative crowd here, so I'm not going to go into all the specifics of it, but it really does come down. That helps guide me. And how can I mimic nature and grow food and fiber? And I don't blame my grandpa for plowing up all my fields I can see out here because I'm living where my grandpa used to live. I don't blame him for doing that. He did what he thought was best for the 1940s. But now that would never fly. It would never work. And I would like to challenge us all. What are we doing today that in 20 or 30 years from now, we're going to say, I can't believe we did that in 24. But that being said, it just behooves us to mimic nature. And that's kind of been my guiding light. And it's all about the plants because plants do regulate the climate. They love CO2, actually. And I would say that well-managed soils and plants will do more to offset fossil fuel emissions than any other strategy ever promoted because it's going to be a lot cheaper as well. You don't have no plants, you have no climate. And I think that synergy and understanding that as we share with those who don't fully understand agriculture, I think they can relate to some of those analogies, how important plants are, cover crops, minimal disturbance of soil, and all our regenerative principles that we have. Understanding how our soil is designed to function. Where in nature do you see bare soil? Very rarely do you see that. Where do you see a single species in nature? Very rarely. Nature thrives on diversity. We need to work with the design instead of against it. So that has led me to my mission statement. I will grow food and fiber to regenerate human health and well being by stewarding the systems of the soil, water, and air, and nurturing. I love that word, nurturing them in a way they were designed to function. So that's a little bit where I'm coming from, a little bit my story, my journey. I'm with Regenerative, which is a certifying agency for regenerative agriculture. I'm sure some of you heard of it. We scored a tier 5, the highest level, and this includes our hemp and so forth. So I believe I might be the first hemp farmer that has a regenerative certification. So let's talk about how we do it. Well, people sometimes say you can't no-till hemp. You can't no-till hemp into a cover crop. No way. Well, we do it. And I'm going to say it's not easy if you don't have the experience or the equipment. And I wish I could show you my videos today because that's really cool. You can see the equipment in action, but because of slower internet speeds and stuff, I can't show that. But, here's a close-up, beautiful picture of hemp coming out of a cover crop, no-tilled into a cover crop. Soil covered with living roots all year. That's kind of my motto. That's what I try to do. I don't achieve it 100% of the time, 100% of my acres, but that's my goal. And with hemp, it can be done. So we're growing our cover crops, for weed control, fertility, and CO2 capture may be considered a bonus. But that's important in my system. And how you control those cover crops is where a lot of people struggle. So this was the first roller crimper in North America, 1996 is when I built this. And I still use this machine today. So even though it's only 10 foot, we do as much rolling for our neighbors as we do for ourselves. So I wish I knew how many thousand acres that little 10-foot machine has, but it's quite a bit. So the next thing is to have a planter that is capable of planting into heavy cover crops. This is one of my planters. I also have a drill as well, but this is a precision planter set up to plant precision hemp, to actually singulate the seeds, which is pretty cutting edge for hemp. And I like to say too, I have this little statement I love to say is you can't buy soil health. You can't like buy a jug of soil health. Now you can buy products, that help and aid in soil health and jumpstart your soil. I'm okay with that. But soil health has to be made. You, the farmer, the rancher, you're the manager. You're the one that's going to make it happen. Unless you totally leave your property and just let it grow wild. That would be a way, but probably not a good idea if you're trying to pay it off. So then we get our plants planted, and then you can kind of see it growing up. One of the things that has I just my favorite things is pictures like this when you can literally see the new crop coming through the cover crop. And this is again hemp that we have grown on our farm. And then as the time goes through the summer, once hemp gets out of the ground, it can be a little tricky because it's a little finicky, I'll say, in growing. But once it gets 6 inches tall, 90% of growing it's done. It just grows to the sky. And here you can see a beautiful field of regenerative hemp there on my farm, where you can see how it has just almost like a tabletop stand in there. And then, let's look up close. This is a little bit further on. Again, looking down in there, you can see where the cover crops still are down there in my no-till planted hemp. A lot of people say, well, you can use no herbicides. And I'm going to say the answer is maybe some of the times, but in large commercial scale, Again, this is where, regenerative agriculture come in. It doesn't prohibit herbicides, but you want to really limit them. We're finding out that we can plant hemp much earlier than we thought. Again, this is a strategy to try to beat the weeds. The first weed that germinates in my area typically is lamb's quarter. Usually that's the third week or so in April. So we planted hemp as early as March last year, and I just did it on a small scale. And in talking to some other people from northern latitudes, like, 50 degrees and 55 degrees north, they say they're planting hemp as soon as the soil temperature hits 45 degrees. So take that for whatever it's worth from your locale if you're interested in growing hemp. But we have grown hemp without herbicides, large acres. There's a picture of it here, in the fall. So it is certainly is possible. Now, I do quite a bit of research. I've been really, to varying degrees over the years, doing research for the last 25 years. And this was 2 years ago, a nice aerial shot of some of our hemp research. We're testing seed depth. We're testing row spacing. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in a second coming up. We're talking fertility, because we haven't grown this crop for 80 years. And I found it very intriguing to go back and dig up some old kind of like how-to books. One of the most fascinating one was the USDA in 1913 published a USDA yearbook, which included how to grow like almost everything. And the book was literally like, it's either 600 or 800 pages long. It's very, very long. 69 pages were dedicated to growing industrial hemp. 1913 in the USDA. And then they banned it in 1937. So it's interesting to read some of that old material and what we can now apply, that there's no real living person, no farmer person that grew hemp in the US that's still here. So I glean from that. And I also then apply my regenerative principles as I understand them to be working here in my farm right now. I also am really trying to learn all I can from the Europeans who never banned a crop, and also the Chinese who never banned a crop. So, again, trying to learn all I can about how to grow this crop is a clear strategy. Well, one of the things we found out was, how to cut it. And it's ironic that we're kind of using old but yet updated technology with sickle bar cutters. Any of you are familiar with haymaking equipment or familiar with kind of the standard ones have like knife or like guards and points up there. This is actually an ESM cutter bar from Germany that is a really has found a good niche for cutting grass hay if you want to use a sickle bar. And what is interesting is the Amish in my area, I'm from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, they love this bar because most of them are not allowed to use modern disc millers, but they're allowed to use a modern sickle bar. It's just that the Amish really love this. And what's also kind of ironic, this is like the best thing we've found to cut hemp, the heavy hemp stalks and so forth. So it's kind of interesting using old technology yet with updated, updated nuances to it that work with crops today. Another thing is just trying to figure out how to handle this crop. You just don't go to the local dealer and say, I want a hemp rake. Now, if you cut the hemp in various, shorter pieces, you can use haymaking equipment. And we've used hay mergers and we tested all kinds of things. But I'm starting to build some of my own equipment now to be able to handle hemp that's built for hemp. So again, I'm going to reference other countries around the world. They have machines that are built to handle hemp. We don't have that here in the US, but we're seeing to it here that we can get some of that done and be able to handle the crop better. One of them is here a round baler. This is McHale. Some of you probably heard of this. It's sold in the US, made in Ireland, but they never banned a crop in Ireland. And so, or they made it legal quicker than here. So there's just some pieces and parts that you can actually buy a hemp kit for the baler. So aside from the fundamental ecological practices to grow regenerative hemp, you're going to have to get equipment that will be able to handle the crop. And hemp is notorious for, as you can imagine, wrapping around parts on equipment and just clogging it up. And there have been fires. So we recommend everybody have a water fire extinguisher or at least a fire extinguisher on your equipment, because I just heard of another baler similar to this burn up this year because something got twisted in there and it heated up. So it's again some of the challenges of growing the crop. One of the things that we found out, and this ties right into regenerative principles, is the plant density. Hemp is planted about 800,000 to 1 million seeds per acre. If you're going for fiber, half that if it's for seed production. A lot of seeds per acre, similar to wheat. So we can use grain drills. But since hemp doesn't tiller out like grain, grain drill, even in a 7.5 inch row, it'll drop some seeds, 5 or 6 seeds in an inch, then it'll be 2 inches of nothing. That's okay when you're planting wheat, but you're really losing opportunity when you're planting hemp. And also to try to have even distribution in the row and have narrower rows helps in weed control because it canopies quicker. So one of the things that we're going to be doing this winter is to build a 4-inch drill, 4-inch row spacing. So it's much closer. I was told by a friend of mine, a hemp farmer friend of mine from Poland, they said they would laugh at you. They would laugh at me if I would use a 7.5 inch drill, which is like a standard thing here in the U.S. And I said, I guess that'd be like us planting 40-inch corn, and nobody plants that anymore, hardly. So he said, yeah, that's probably about right. So again, there's no 4-inch drills you can buy here in the U.S. unless they're really tiny vegetable ones, but not big ones, at least that I'm aware of. So I'm going to build one, working with some local manufacturers here. And again, some of the things we need to solve in order to make this regenerative hemp work. So just to summarize here, um, again, this is another section of our farm doing a lot of research. And I love to try to fine tune, to tweak, to make better. And in the context of a new crop for most of us, hemp, and then fit that into the regenerative principles. It very much can be done. And I'm excited to be able to follow these regenerative practices that I'm sure you're all familiar with. And again, I think that last one down there is one of the things that's getting a little bit more, I guess you would say, attention these days. You need to center around your principles to your context and your experience. And might I add, ability to manage. See, I used to say that cover crops make good farmers better and bad farmers worse. You can apply that to regenerative agriculture as well, because it comes down to the management part. Now, that doesn't mean I don't make mistakes, because I do, because I'm pushing the limit sometimes. And sometimes I fundamentally, get a little too excited sometimes about something I think will work and then it falls flat. But you got to make your mistakes small enough that you can afford to lose it. But again, the context is important. Growing no-till hemp and cover crops, growing it regenerative, absolutely is possible, but it takes it takes quite a bit of experience and knowledge to be able to make it work and make it work profitably and so forth. So, for me, I love this picture here because it kind of exemplifies my feeling, a couple feelings here. You can kind of get lost. And honestly, a little backstory of this picture, obviously taken from a drone. I was in our field and I'm pretty good with directions, but I literally got turned around. I'm walking and walking and walking through the plants and I didn't know where I got to. I thought I was going to walk out on the driveway. And so I got on my phone to the drone operator and said, I'm lost. Can you find me? And he did. And he told me I got to turn left. I was going the wrong way. But that's an analogy for the way the hemp industry is going. And I will say the regenerative agriculture, because it's a journey and you have to be able to embrace that. You can listen to me, you can listen to all these other speakers here today and yesterday, and everything that everybody said is probably true and accurate, but it may not work for you. And you have to be wise enough to sift that out and see what works in your context. And it comes back to what I said before, your experience and your ability to manage. And it doesn't downplay anybody that, makes a mistake once in a while. No, there's something about that's what a good farmer is. They have their ability to manage. And here we got some of these new principles that we want to deploy on our farm and being able to transition from you might say tried and true practices that were environmentally degrading to regenerative is like going from being a nurse to a surgeon. It takes time and it takes effort and it takes, and self education, learning all you can. My biggest advice to people in any aspect of regenerative agriculture, uh, that if you have questions and so forth, try to find a mentor, another farmer, and ideally you want to look for someone who is doing what you want to try to accomplish. So that inherently means you got to kind of back up. What do you want to accomplish in this specific situation? What's your context and all that? And then is there a mentor out there? Sometimes that could be someone in the local area. It's ideal. I have mentors all around the world, Australia, France, different places, because I've been to these countries, I've been on these farms. And so we check in once in a while and when we have questions. So that to me is some of the best advice you can get. If you can reach out to someone, go to someone's farm, go to field days, all these things here that can really help you be successful. So building a legacy on hemp using regenerative agriculture principles. I just kind of narrowed it down here to hemp today. A lot of what I said applies to other crops as well. But if you're interested in hemp, or if you're like, well, I heard what happened to CBD and that was a bust, I'm telling you, you're correct. You are. I'm one of those. But the whole fiber hemp, the industrial hemp side now is slowly, but surely gathering momentum. I was just in a conference last week. There's 150 people invited from all over the U.S. To Montana, and just to get a sense for what's going on within the industry, what's coming down the pike. Nissan now is involved with putting hemp products in their cars. BMW has been doing it for a couple of years in Europe. So when you start hearing those things, it starts to make you understand that hemp is going to slowly rise to be a. It's not going to be a lucrative crop, but it's going to be an alternative crop that does so many good things. I believe hemp is the best plant God made for both the planet and for humanity, if I could put it in those terms. So many, medicinal values and all kinds of things, when you're looking at the whole plant. So I think it's really neat to study this plant and figure out how it can benefit us. And I say, us that are here, figuratively us, our society, in so much things that it can do. So I guess with that, Jared, that's all my slides. I don't know if you want to entertain any questions now, but I just wanted to, put it out there. This is where I'm coming from.
Yeah, we love it. So tell us a little bit about where the uses of hemp. Like,
So pretty much everybody's familiar with some of the fiber uses in rope. In the old times, they use it in canvas and so forth. Uh, Now, textiles, clothing. Yeah, you're starting to see it. You're starting to see it blended with cotton, and so that's kind of a use that there isn't very many textiles in the U.S. So you grow it here, ship it to China, and it comes back here in clothing. That sounds a little. Some people would maybe not like that, but that's the reality. We don't want to pay $200 for a shirt because that's what you'd probably pay for a good shirt if it's all made in the U.S. Okay, so just putting that out there. So then in the hurd, the HURD hurd is the center woody part of the plant. That is capable of replacing, not I shouldn't say that, but of adding to anything almost that can be made of plastic. When you take that, when you feel it, like in chips of 1 inch long, it has this smooth feel, and you can kind of feel the plasticity, if that's a word, you can feel it. So what they do is they micronize it, grind it up fine, and they can somehow inject it into plastic situation because it's the cellular strength that it has is phenomenal. It can be used as insulation in houses. It's mold resistant. There's a lot of health benefits that are better than current insulation that is synthetic that's on the market. So some of the crazier things that they're working on is making hemp batteries. Hemp batteries, like to replace lithium. How does that sound? Well, it's coming. It's going to be a couple years to probably big commercialization of it. But hemp batteries is something that it'll just be phenomenal once it gets all dialed in for a commercial scale. So there are lots of things made of hemp. A lot of people don't realize that Henry Ford made a bio-based fiber car in the 1930s, right when it was banned. He made all the parts in that car that he could. Even see, hemp is almost as strong as carbon fiber. And they have actually used some hemp components in F1 Formula One racing. So, I have a local dirt track racer here. He made hemp hubcaps for his sprint car so the mud wouldn't build up. And it's like, wow. Well, then you start thinking, well, then it could be made into a lot of things. Well, you're correct. So hemp straws, I should have brought some here to show you. Straws that they're better than paper straws, let me tell you. But they're going to decompose in a landfill in a couple years, not 500 years or whatever it takes for a plastic straw to decompose. So lots and lots of opportunities for hemp. People say there's thousands of uses, and I don't, I don't dispute that. There probably is, but at least you can say there's lots and lots of uses. If you're interested in this, just start getting on the online, and you'll go down in a rabbit hole that you may not come out of, Jared.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. What are the margins on it right now? And
So those margins are still being determined because the market really hasn't been developed. I like to
mhm,
say that the cars are built, but the roads are still dirt. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so, but what and I'm involved with some other farmers in an organization. I have Catalyst that is working on marketing. I'll just say this right now: we have orders for more hemp products than we can grow at for what we have the ability of us to grow right now. So that's really cool. But I've been in this space for a couple of years now. You don't just march in and start. It's not like growing corn where you grow corn, you can sell it to the local grain elevator. As far as the margins, I have told all my people up and down the supply chain, it has to be more than the commodity crops. It has to be more than what a farmer's getting for corn and soybeans.
yeah.
Because why would they change? So my answer is it has to be more than corn and soybeans. That's my answer today.
Yeah, I like it. Would it be viable? I mean, there's so much biomass there. Would it be viable just to grow as a crop to compost, or just soil remediation, just to build soil?
Okay, I'm gonna say yes, but with a caveat. The just to grow it like a cover crop, not a good idea because of the fibers that are in it. You come back next year and try to plant corn or something, your road cleaners will get all clogged up, and you will be let me say unhappy. But hemp makes great biochar, and actually, we're going to get some tomorrow. We're looking for an experiment here where we're going to chop it with a 4-H chopper. We cut it down, raked it up in rows, and we're going to chop it with a 4 like a corn silage or a hay chopper. Put it in an ag bag, and then we're working with a fellow who's getting the biochar set up. So putting it back on the field as biochar is a great idea. We just have to make sure it works on all aspects, just from a technical standpoint, and then how does that pencil out? And then it
Yeah.
kind of brings new thing here is there is actually pretty attractive tax credits to get when you do this kind of stuff.
Huh.
So a little
Huh.
tangent right there, but I mean, because you're sequestering carbon and biochar is like it's kind of considered a life cycle assessment is like 100 years. And that pays you a lot more because you're going to be able to absorb and keep carbon in the soil profile rather than going into the air, in the atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Donna is asking the same question I had. Can ruminants eat it?
They
And
don't like it typically. It's a bitter.
okay.
The answer is I'm going to say don't grow it for that. That's not its place. It's too much fiber. Uh,
Okay.
the answer is pretty much no.
Maybe we can ferment it with Ken's probiotic.
Well,
He's
there you
fermented
go.
he's
That's what.
fermented some pretty crazy stuff, I understand, and I probably shouldn't say this on the recording, but I think he's got ruminants to eat wood chips and some
Well,
pretty carbonaceous material. So, um,
context, you may be right.
yeah, yeah. So, not a recommendation, folks, not a recommendation, but But
I love people trying stuff.
yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. All right. Well, very good, Steve. We appreciate you joining the summit here today. You've definitely been a great
Sure.
contributor and
Yep. Thanks for hosting all this, and I wish you all the best out there. And thanks for the opportunity, Jared.
you're very welcome. Yep. Thank you.